The mining station orbited a dead world in the HFY system, its hull scarred by years of asteroid impacts and solar radiation. Inside the cramped quarters, 23-year-old Sarah Chen pressed her face against the observation port, watching the massive excavator ships tear chunks of precious metals from the planet's surface. She had been working here for 8 months now, one of only 12 humans aboard the multi-species facility. Sarah adjusted her environmental suit and checked the atmospheric readings on her tablet. The air recyclers were working at 60% efficiency again. She made a note to request maintenance from the Zeltharan engineering crew, though she doubted they would prioritize human comfort. Most alien species found Earth's oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere toxic or unpleasant. "Chen, report to Base 7, crackled through her communicator. The voice belonged to Administrator Crix, a four-armed insectoid from the hegemony worlds. His tone carried the usual disdain most aliens showed toward humans. Sarah gathered her tools and made her way through the narrow corridors. The station buzzed with activity as various alien species went about their duties. Tall, blue-skinned Altarians operated complex machinery with their elongated fingers. The rock-like Gorvani hauled massive containers with their incredible strength. Everywhere she looked, Sarah was reminded of how physically inferior humans appeared compared to the other species in the galactic community. When Earth had finally achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago, humanity had been shocked to discover they were among the weakest species in known space. Most aliens possessed natural advantages that made humans seem fragile and pathetic. The Kythera had metallic skin that could deflect small arms fire. The Zephyrians could survive in hard vacuum for hours. Even the plant-like Florians could photosynthesize their own nutrients. Humans brought only one thing to the galactic table: their willingness to work in dangerous conditions for low pay. Earth's government had negotiated mining rights and trade agreements, but humanity remained on the bottom rung of galactic civilization. Sarah arrived at Base 7 to find Administrator Crix waiting with 2 massive hegemony security officers. Their chitinous armor gleamed under the harsh lighting, and their multiple eyes tracked her movement with predatory focus. "Chen," Crix said, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "There has been an incident." "What kind of incident?" Sarah asked, setting down her tool case. "Sabotage. Someone has been interfering with the excavation equipment, causing delays and lost profits." Crix circled her slowly, his forearms gesticulating. "The damage patterns suggest human involvement." Sarah's blood ran cold. "I haven't done anything wrong. None of us have. We're just here to work." "Perhaps. But humans have a reputation for creativity when it comes to causing problems. Your species' military history suggests you excel at guerrilla tactics and sabotage." "That's ancient history," Sarah protested. "We're not soldiers. We're miners and technicians." Crix made a sound that might have been laughter. "Yes, weak little humans playing at being space workers. But someone is responsible for these losses. And hegemony justice demands answers." The security officers stepped forward, their weapons humming with energy. Sarah backed against the wall, her heart pounding. She had heard stories about hegemony interrogations, none of them pleasant. "I want to contact the human representative," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Representative Morrison is unavailable," Crix replied. "Besides, this is a hegemony facility operating under hegemony law. You have no rights here except what we choose to grant." The security officers grabbed Sarah's arms, their grip strong enough to leave bruises through her environmental suit. They dragged her from Base 7 deeper into the station, past sections she had never seen before. The corridors grew darker and more cramped, filled with the smell of ozone and something else. Something organic and unpleasant. They brought her to a detention cell equipped with restraint fields designed for various alien physiologies. The guards stripped away her environmental suit and tools, leaving her in the thin coveralls beneath. The air was barely breathable, thick with humidity and trace gases that made her eyes water. "Now then," Crick said, activating a recording device, "let us discuss your sabotage activities." "I told you I haven't done anything," Sarah said. "I maintain life support systems. I don't even have access to the excavation equipment." "Human lies are so predictable," Crix mused. He gestured to one of the guards who activated a neural stimulator. Pain shot through Sarah's nervous system, making her scream and convulse against the restraints. "The beauty of pain," Crix continued conversationally, "is that it transcends species barriers. Every sentient race understands suffering." For the next 6 hours, they tortured her. They used neural stimulators to send waves of agony through her body. They manipulated the atmospheric mixture to make breathing difficult, causing her to gasp and choke. They subjected her to sonic frequencies that made her teeth ache and her skull feel like it was cracking. Through it all, Sarah maintained her innocence. She begged them to check her access logs, to verify her whereabouts during the alleged sabotage incidents. But Crick seemed more interested in the process than the results. "Your pain responses are fascinating," he noted, making observations on his tablet while she writhed in agony. "Humans show remarkable emotional distress during physical suffering. Most species simply endure until death. You actually seem to break psychologically before your body fails." Sarah wept and pleaded, but the torture continued. They brought in different devices, each designed to cause maximum suffering while keeping her alive. The guards took turns operating the equipment, treating her pain like a form of entertainment. "Please," she gasped during a brief respite, "contact Earth. They'll pay whatever compensation you want for the damages." "Earth?" Crix laughed, the sound like grinding metal. "What could your pathetic world possibly offer that would interest the hegemony? You have no advanced technology, no significant military, no resources we cannot take elsewhere. Then why are you doing this?" "Because we can," Crix replied simply. "Because your species needs to understand its place in the galaxy. You are insects beneath our notice, useful only for labor in conditions too dangerous for more valuable races." The torture resumed with renewed intensity. They suspended her in a gravity field that constantly shifted, causing disorientation and nausea. They used electromagnetic pulses that interfered with her nervous system, creating phantom pains that felt like her bones were shattering. During brief moments of consciousness between sessions, Sarah thought about Earth. She pictured her family in Shanghai, her friends at the academy where she had trained for deep space work. They would never know what happened to her. Her disappearance would be listed as an industrial accident, another casualty of humanity's desperate scramble for relevance in galactic civilization. On the second day, they brought in a Kythera pain specialist, a being whose metallic features showed no emotion as it calibrated new torture devices. The creature's methods were more sophisticated, targeting specific nerve clusters to maximize suffering while avoiding permanent damage. "Humans are remarkably fragile," the Kythera observed in its electronic voice. "Their pain tolerance is among the lowest I have recorded, yet their psychological resilience varies dramatically between individuals." Sarah had stopped denying the accusations. She no longer had the strength to form coherent arguments. The constant agony had reduced her to animal responses, gasping, crying, begging for mercy that never came. "Tell us about Earth's military capabilities," Crix demanded during the third day. "What defenses does your world possess?" "Nothing," Sarah whispered through cracked lips. "We have orbital platforms for asteroid defense. Some police ships. Nothing that could threaten anyone." "Surely your species did not abandon warfare entirely," the administrator pressed. "Your historical records show remarkable aptitude for violence." Sarah laughed bitterly, the sound coming out as a croak. "We gave up war when we reached the stars. What's the point of fighting when every other species could crush us without effort? This seemed to satisfy Crix's curiosity, though the torture continued. They wanted her broken completely, reduced to nothing more than a warning to other humans about the consequences of crossing hegemony interests. On the fourth day, Representative Morrison finally appeared. The middle-aged diplomat looked haggard and nervous as he entered the detention area with a hegemony escort. "My God, what have you done to her?" he gasped upon seeing Sarah's condition. "Standard interrogation procedures," Crix replied dismissively. "Your citizen has confessed to sabotage activities. The matter is closed." Morrison's hands shook as he activated his recording device. "This is a formal protest. Sarah Chen is a registered human citizen working under Treaty Provision 7. You had no authority to detain her without notification." "Authority?" Crix's mandibles clicked in amusement. "We need no authority to discipline our workers. Your treaties mean nothing here." "Earth will hear about this," Morrison said, his voice weak and ineffective. "Earth will do nothing," Crix replied confidently. "Your world lacks the power to challenge hegemony decisions. This human will serve as an example to others who might consider stepping out of line." Morrison recorded Sarah's condition and the administrator's statements, but both aliens and human knew it was meaningless. Earth's government would file diplomatic protests that would be ignored. There might be economic sanctions that the hegemony would barely notice. Nothing would change. As Morrison left with his pathetic documentation, Sarah closed her eyes and tried to remember what it felt like before the pain began. She thought about her childhood, about dreams of exploring the stars that had led her to this nightmare. The torture continued for 3 more days before they finally dumped her broken body in the medical bay. The station's automated systems kept her alive, healing the worst of the damage while leaving her psychologically shattered. She lay in the recovery unit, staring at the ceiling and trying to forget the feeling of electricity coursing through her nervous system. Other human workers visited when they could, bringing small comforts and whispered words of sympathy. But Sarah could see the fear in their eyes. They all understood now that their alien employers viewed them as disposable, less than livestock. The sabotage, they learned later, had been caused by a faulty Gorvani excavator operator who had made errors in the equipment calibration. No human had been involved. The truth came to light only after Sarah's torture was complete, a detail that Administrator Crix dismissed as irrelevant. "The human served her purpose," he told the gathered workers during a station meeting. "Let this be a lesson about the consequences of any interference with hegemony operations." As Sarah recovered in the medical bay, she recorded a message for her family. Her hands shook as she spoke into the device, describing her treatment and the aliens' complete contempt for human dignity. She gave the recording to a sympathetic Altarian trader who promised to deliver it to Earth through unofficial channels. She did not know that her message would reach more than just her family. She did not know that hidden in Earth's government and military were individuals who had been waiting for exactly this kind of incident. She did not know that humanity's apparent weakness was the greatest deception in galactic history. All Sarah knew was pain, humiliation, and the bitter knowledge that humans truly were the galaxy's bottom feeders, existing only at the mercy of their alien superiors. The message arrived at Earth through a network of smugglers and sympathetic aliens who operated outside official channels. Sarah Chen's recording, copied and encrypted multiple times, eventually reached the desk of Director Elena Vasquez in a nondescript building in Geneva. The building's official designation was the Department of Colonial Affairs, but that was just another layer of deception in humanity's greatest secret. Vasquez watched Sarah's testimony 3 times before she trusted herself to speak. The young woman's broken voice described horrors that made the director's blood boil, but she kept her expression neutral. Around the conference table sat representatives from various Earth governments, all sworn to absolute secrecy about what they were about to discuss. "Gentlemen," Vasquez said, pausing the recording, I believe it's time. General Harrison from the North American Federation leaned forward. Are we certain this isn't an isolated incident? The hegemony has been brutal before. It's escalating, replied Dr. Yuki Tanaka from the Asian Colonial Consortium. We've had 17 similar incidents in the past year. The aliens are becoming bolder in their treatment of human workers. Minister Chen Wei from the Earth Defense Coalition spoke up. The surveillance data confirms it. Across 47 colonies and mining stations, humans are being systematically abused, tortured, and murdered. The aliens see us as insects. Vasquez nodded grimly. Which is exactly what we wanted them to think. But the charade has cost too much. Sarah Chen and thousands like her have paid the price for our deception. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. What appeared to be standard defensive platforms and commercial shipping suddenly transformed into something else entirely. Hidden shipyards appeared in asteroid fields. Mining stations revealed themselves as military installations. Cargo vessels shed false hulls to expose weapon systems that would make hegemony dreadnoughts look like toys. Phase 1 of Operation Sleeping Giant is complete, Vasquez announced. For 50 years, we've played the role of weak, primitive humans. We've allowed our citizens to be exploited and abused while we prepared for this moment. The hologram zoomed in on Mars, where vast underground facilities had been constructed beneath the planet's surface. Production facilities that allegedly manufactured mining equipment actually churned out advanced weapons and armor. Research labs disguised as agricultural domes developed technologies that surpassed anything in known space. The Prometheus project has exceeded all expectations, Dr. Tanaka reported. We now have 200,000 active super soldiers distributed across Earth's hidden military installations. General Harrison activated another display showing genetic and cybernetic enhancement data. Each soldier represents the pinnacle of human potential, enhanced beyond anything the aliens can imagine. Increased strength, speed, reflexes, and endurance. Advanced neural implants for tactical coordination. Regenerative capabilities that make them nearly indestructible. More importantly, added Minister Chen Wei, they're invisible to alien detection methods. Our biosignature masking technology makes enhanced humans appear completely normal to hegemony sensors. Vasquez stood and walked to the window overlooking Lake Geneva. Below, tourists and civilians went about their daily lives, unaware that their planet harbored the most advanced military force in the galaxy. The aliens' greatest weakness is their arrogance. They've studied human history and concluded that our warlike nature disappeared when we reached space. They believe we became docile and weak. They have no idea, General Harrison added with grim satisfaction, that we've spent 50 years turning war into a science. The director returned to the table and brought up personnel files. Faces appeared on the screen. Men and women who looked like ordinary humans, but whose capabilities far exceeded anything the galaxy had seen. The Prometheus soldiers have been training in secret facilities, learning every aspect of alien technology and psychology. They know hegemony tactics better than the hegemony knows them. Dr. Tanaka pulled up tactical analyses. We've identified critical weaknesses in every major alien species. The Cathera's metallic skin conducts specific electromagnetic frequencies that can shut down their nervous systems. Altarian reflexes slow dramatically in high-gravity environments. Gorvani become vulnerable when their core temperature drops below a certain threshold. What about their ships? Minister Chen Wei asked. Completely mapped, General Harrison replied. Our people have been working on their vessels for decades, installing maintenance equipment, replacing components. Every major hegemony ship has hidden vulnerabilities that we can exploit. The display showed detailed schematics of alien vessels, highlighting structural weaknesses and backdoor access points. Red lines traced through ship corridors, marking optimal routes for boarding parties. Critical systems were tagged with specific methods for rapid shutdown. Vasquez called up Sarah Chen's file. Miss Chen was selected for her mission because her psychological profile indicated she could endure torture without revealing classified information. She doesn't know it, but she's been a deep cover operative since her academy training. You mean she's been trained to resist interrogation? Dr. Tanaka asked. More than that, the director replied. Her apparent breakdown was carefully orchestrated to convince the aliens that humans break easily under pressure. Meanwhile, she gathered intelligence about hegemony detention procedures and torture methods. The conference room fell silent as the implications sank in. Sarah's suffering had been real, but it served a greater purpose in humanity's grand deception. The nanoprobes in her bloodstream recorded everything, General Harrison explained. Voice patterns, security codes, facility layouts, guard rotations. When she returns to Earth for medical treatment, we'll extract more intelligence about hegemony operations than we've gathered in decades. Vasquez activated a communication array that linked to hidden installations across the solar system. All stations, this is Director Vasquez. Authorization code, Nemesis 77 Alpha. Phase 2 is now active. Prometheus units are cleared for deployment. Across Earth's secret military network, 200,000 enhanced soldiers received activation orders. In underground bunkers, they donned armor that looked like standard environmental suits, but contained technology decades ahead of anything aliens possessed. Their weapons appeared to be mining tools or maintenance equipment, another layer of deception. The first deployment teams boarded ships disguised as commercial freighters and medical evacuation vessels. Their mission was simple: infiltrate alien installations and prepare for the larger operation to follow. They would pose as replacement workers, medical personnel, and technical consultants. On Luna Base 7, Captain Marcus Rivera suited up with his 12-person infiltration team. The massive soldier looked like any other human worker, but his genetic enhancements gave him reflexes faster than a striking snake and strength that could crush steel. Neural implants connected him to Earth's military network, providing real-time intelligence and tactical coordination. Remember, Rivera addressed his team, we maintain the deception until the signal comes. Act weak, act submissive, act human as they expect humans to behave. Sergeant Lisa Park adjusted her equipment pack. What about civilians like Sarah Chen? Do we extract them? Negative. They maintain their cover until Phase 3. Their safety depends on the aliens continuing to see them as helpless victims. The team boarded a medical evacuation ship, supposedly heading to the HFY system to retrieve Sarah and other injured workers. The ship's manifest listed them as counselors and medical technicians, but their actual purpose was to position themselves for what came next. Similar teams deployed across the galaxy, targeting every significant hegemony installation. They carried weapons that looked like medical scanners, but could punch through alien armor like paper. Their communication equipment appeared to be standard data tablets, but could hack any known computer system. Dr. Tanaka monitored the deployments from Earth's hidden command center. All teams are in position. Prometheus soldiers have successfully infiltrated 73% of target installations. What about the hegemony's military response? Minister Chen Wei asked. They have no idea we're coming, General Harrison replied. As far as they know, Earth is sending medical teams to help our abused workers. They see it as pathetic weakness, exactly as we intended. Meanwhile, aboard the mining station in the HFY system, Administrator Crix received notification of incoming human ships. He dismissed the information with contempt, assuming Earth was sending more weak diplomats to protest his treatment of their citizens. Sarah Chen lay in the medical bay, unaware that her suffering was about to be answered in ways the galaxy had never seen. Her injuries were healing slowly, but the psychological trauma would take longer to fade. She stared at the ceiling and wondered if her message had even reached Earth. The Altarian medic treating her showed unusual kindness for an alien, occasionally offering words of comfort. Sarah didn't know that the being was actually working with Earth's intelligence network, gathering information about human treatment across hegemony space. "Your people are coming," the medic whispered during one of their sessions. "A medical ship arrives tomorrow." Sarah nodded weakly, expecting another meaningless diplomatic protest. She had given up hope that Earth could do anything to help its abused citizens. Humanity was too weak, too primitive to challenge the galactic order. Director Vasquez reviewed the final preparations from her office in Geneva. Every major alien government had at least a dozen Prometheus soldiers positioned within their infrastructure. The soldiers' apparent humanity made them invisible to alien security systems designed to detect threats from known hostile species. "The irony is perfect," she mused to her aide. "They've studied our military history so extensively that they know exactly how dangerous humans can be. But they convinced themselves that we abandoned those capabilities when we joined galactic civilization." "What happens when they realize the truth?" the aide asked. "By then it will be too late," Vasquez replied. 50 years of preparation, 50 years of deception, 50 years of turning our apparent weakness into our greatest strength. Tomorrow, the galaxy learns what happens when you torture a human girl." She looked out at the peaceful Earth sky, knowing that within hours it would no longer be the home of a downtrodden species begging for scraps from alien civilizations. Instead, it would be revealed as the center of the most dangerous military power the galaxy had ever seen. The hegemony and their allies had made a fatal error in judgment. They had mistaken humanity's patience for weakness, their careful planning for inability to act. They had tortured and murdered humans while believing there would be no consequences. They were about to learn otherwise. Across the solar system, Prometheus soldiers received their final mission parameters. The time for deception was ending. Sarah Chen's torturers were about to discover that humanity had not forgotten how to wage war. They had simply become better at it than anyone could imagine. The galaxy was about to meet Earth's secret super soldiers, and nothing would ever be the same. The medical evacuation ship, Mercy's Hand, docked with the Kethvar mining station at 800 hours standard time. Administrator Crix watched the procedure with mild interest, noting how the pathetic human vessel struggled to match the station's rotation. Even their rescue ships demonstrated humanity's technological inferiority. Captain Marcus Rivera led his team through the docking tube, carrying medical equipment and wearing the submissive expression expected of humans in alien space. The 12-person team moved with careful, measured steps that concealed their enhanced reflexes and combat training. To alien observers, they appeared to be another group of weak humans coming to tend their wounded. "Welcome aboard," Crix said with mocking formality. "Your injured worker is in Medical Bay 3. Try not to contaminate anything with your primitive procedures." Rivera bowed his head respectfully, playing his part perfectly. "Thank you, Administrator. We're grateful for your cooperation." The team split up according to plan. Half moved toward the medical bay, while the others spread throughout the station, ostensibly to conduct safety inspections and gather statements from human workers. In reality, they were mapping defensive positions and identifying priority targets. Sarah Chen was awake when the medical team arrived. She looked up at Rivera with hollow eyes, her face still showing bruises from the torture. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. "They'll just hurt more of us." "Not anymore," Rivera replied quietly, his words carrying a meaning she couldn't understand. He began conducting what appeared to be a standard medical examination while his neural implants recorded everything about the facility's security systems. Dr. Lisa Park, posing as a trauma counselor, interviewed other human workers about their treatment. Each story confirmed what Earth already knew. The systematic abuse had reached intolerable levels. But more importantly, Their accounts provided detailed intelligence about alien psychology and operational procedures. At exactly 1200 hours, Rivera's communication implant received a single-word transmission from Earth. Execute. 50 years of preparation culminated in that moment. Across the galaxy, on 237 hegemony installations, Prometheus soldiers received the same signal. The greatest military operation in human history began with the simple touch of a control panel. Rivera's medical scanner transformed into a weapon that fired coherent energy pulses capable of penetrating hegemony armor. His teammates shed their submissive poses and moved with inhuman speed, striking targets throughout the medical bay before the aliens could react. The first Kithara security guard died before he could draw his weapon, his metallic body crumpling under an electromagnetic pulse that shut down his nervous system. The second guard managed to activate an alarm before Dr. Park's blade found the gap between his armor plates. Throughout the station, similar scenes played out with mechanical precision. Sergeant James Wong, disguised as a maintenance worker, eliminated 3 Gorvani guards in the reactor section using sonic weapons that shattered their crystalline internal structures. Corporal Maria Santos, posing as an environmental specialist, disabled the station's communication array while simultaneously taking control of their defensive systems. Administrator Crix heard the alarm and rushed toward his command center, his forearms reaching for emergency protocols. He found Captain Rivera waiting for him, the human's expression no longer submissive but cold and professional. "Impossible!" Crix chittered, his multiple eyes taking in the bodies of his security personnel. "Humans don't possess this technology. Your species is weak, primitive." "That's what we wanted you to think," Rivera replied, his voice carrying none of the deference aliens had come to expect from humans. 50 years of acting helpless while we prepared for this moment. The administrator backed against a wall, suddenly understanding that everything he believed about humanity was wrong. "You deceived us. The mining accidents, the equipment failures, the apparent incompetence, it was all planned." "Every bit of it. We've been studying you, learning your weaknesses, positioning ourselves for when you finally went too far." Rivera gestured toward the medical bay where Sarah lay recovering. "Torturing that girl was your final mistake." Crix tried to activate his personal communicator, but the device remained silent. The station's entire communication grid was under human control, cutting off any chance of calling for help. "Your security codes, Administrator," Rivera demanded, holding a device that looked like a medical scanner but hummed with lethal energy. "All of them." "The hegemony will destroy Earth when they learn of this treachery," Crix threatened, but his voice trembled with fear. "The hegemony is learning about it right now," Rivera replied coldly. "This operation is happening simultaneously across all your major installations. Your fleet commanders are discovering that their ships have been sabotaged, their weapons disabled, their communication networks compromised." As if to prove his point, Rivera's neural implant displayed a tactical overview of operations across the galaxy. Green lights indicated successful mission completion at installation after installation. Hegemony response times were being measured in hours, while Prometheus soldiers completed their objectives in minutes. On the fortress world of Hegemony Prime, Admiral Vex received fragmentary reports of attacks on outlying stations. The communications were garbled and made little sense. Humans were somehow involved in coordinated strikes against heavily defended installations. "Impossible," the Admiral declared, his crystalline features reflecting the command center's lights. "Humans lack the capability for such operations. This must be a Kithara rebellion or Altarian treachery." His aide, a nervous Gorvani, brought more reports. "Sir, the attacks are confirmed as human in origin. Facilities across 17 sectors are reporting coordinated strikes by enhanced human soldiers." Admiral Vex laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "Enhanced humans? The weakest species in known space? Someone is feeding us false information." The main display suddenly filled with imagery from security cameras across hegemony space. The Admiral watched in growing horror as human soldiers moved with impossible speed and precision, wielding weapons that should not exist, demonstrating capabilities that violated everything the hegemony knew about Earth's technological level. At the HFY station, Rivera had secured Administrator Crix's cooperation and was accessing the facility's central computer. The aliens' security codes provided entry to classified hegemony databases, revealing military positions and strategic plans. "You have no idea what you've started," Crix moaned as he watched Rivera download terabytes of classified information. "The hegemony controls 300 worlds. Earth has one planet and a few mining colonies." "Earth has more than you know," Rivera replied without looking up from his work. "We've been building in secret for 5 decades. While you thought we were your slaves, we were preparing to become your masters." The download completed just as Sergeant Park reported from the station's command center. "All systems secured, Captain. Defensive weapons are under our control and targeting approaching hegemony vessels." Rivera activated his communication implant, broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Captain Marcus Rivera of the Earth Defense Forces addressing all hegemony personnel in this system. Your station has been captured and is now under human control. Any attempt to retake this facility will result in your destruction." The response came quickly from a hegemony patrol ship. "This is Commander Thax. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. Humans cannot threaten hegemony vessels." Rivera smiled grimly and activated the station's main weapons array. The mining platform's disguised defensive systems came online, revealing energy cannons that dwarfed anything on the approaching patrol ship. A single shot turned the hegemony vessel into expanding plasma. "Anyone else want to test human capabilities?" Rivera broadcast. Across the galaxy, similar messages echoed as Prometheus soldiers completed their missions. Installation after installation fell to human forces who had been hiding in plain sight. The hegemony's reaction times were hopelessly slow compared to the coordinated precision of Earth's secret military. On Earth, Director Vasquez watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Every green light represented years of planning and preparation coming to fruition. The aliens' arrogance had blinded them to humanity's true nature. "Phase 3 is go," she announced to her command staff. "Begin the revelation protocol." Across Earth's solar system, the massive deception finally ended. Hidden shipyards revealed themselves, producing vessels that made hegemony dreadnoughts look like children's toys. Asteroid mining facilities shed their disguises to expose weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets. Mars unveiled underground cities housing millions of enhanced soldiers ready for deployment. The message went out on all galactic communication channels, broadcast from transmitters that had been secretly installed on alien networks over decades of careful infiltration. To all alien governments and species, this is Director Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Forces. For 50 years, humanity has endured your abuse, your condescension, and your cruelty while we prepared for this day. You tortured our citizens, murdered our people, and treated us like insects beneath your notice. That ends now. The broadcast included tactical data showing human military capabilities, star maps revealing hidden installations, and detailed analyses of alien weaknesses. Everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity was revealed as elaborate deception. Earth hereby claims sovereignty over our colonial territories and protection of all human citizens throughout galactic space. Any government that wishes to maintain peaceful relations will immediately cease all hostile actions against humans and open negotiations for new treaties based on equality, not exploitation. Admiral Vex stared at the transmission in disbelief. The display showed human ships emerging from hidden bases, their technology clearly superior to anything in the hegemony fleet. Decades of intelligence reports about human capabilities had been completely wrong. How? He whispered. How did we miss this? His aide brought more reports of defeats across hegemony space. Sir, they're broadcasting from our own communication arrays. Our networks have been compromised for decades. They've been watching us while we thought we were watching them. At the HFY station, Captain Rivera helped Sarah Chen to her feet. Her injuries were healing rapidly thanks to advanced human medical technology, nanobots that repaired tissue damage and accelerated recovery. I don't understand, she said, watching alien prisoners being processed by soldiers she had thought were medical personnel. We were supposed to be weak. Earth told us we couldn't fight the aliens. Earth told you what you needed to believe to play your part, Rivera explained gently. Your suffering was real, and I'm sorry for that. But it served a purpose. Every human citizen who endured alien abuse was gathering intelligence and proving our apparent weakness. Sarah looked around at the transformed station, seeing human technology that surpassed anything she had imagined Earth possessed. You mean all of this time, we could have fought back? We were fighting back, Rivera replied, just not in the way the aliens expected. They understood physical warfare, but not psychological operations. They never imagined that an entire species could maintain such a complex deception. Administrator Crix sat in restraints, his multiple eyes tracking the human soldiers with newfound respect and terror. Your species is more devious than we ever suspected. You played weak for 50 years just to position yourselves for this moment. We played smart, Rivera corrected. Humans have always been excellent at adaptation and long-term planning. You aliens never bothered to study those aspects of our nature because you were too focused on our apparent physical weaknesses. The final phase of Operation Sleeping Giant unfolded as human fleets emerged from hiding throughout the galaxy. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers revealed weapon systems that could crack planets. Installations that had appeared to be mining operations unveiled defensive capabilities that made them nearly impregnable fortresses. The hegemony's response was chaotic and uncoordinated. Their commanders had built strategies around fighting conventional alien enemies, not a species that had spent decades infiltrating their infrastructure and learning their weaknesses. Within 72 hours, human forces controlled every major trade route and communication hub in hegemony space. The aliens who had tormented humanity for decades found themselves cut off from their support networks, their fleets disabled by sabotage, their weapons systems compromised by hidden back doors. Director Vasquez addressed the galaxy one final time. To those species who treated humans with dignity and respect, Earth extends the hand of friendship. To those who saw us as slaves and victims, consider this your education in human nature. We are not the weak, primitive species you believed us to be. We are Earth's children, and we protect our own. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the captured station, watching human ships patrol the system that had been the site of her torture. The aliens who had broken her body and spirit now cowered in detention cells, facing justice for decades of crimes against humanity. Captain Rivera joined her at the viewing port. How do you feel about the deception? About not knowing the truth? Sarah considered the question carefully. I'm angry that I had to suffer, but I understand why it was necessary. The aliens would never have revealed their true nature if they had known Earth could fight back. And now? Now they know better than to torture a human girl, Sarah replied with a smile that held no warmth for their former captors. Now they know what happens when they push Earth too far. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity's emergence as the dominant military power reshaped every political alliance and trade agreement. The species that had been dismissed as weak and primitive now stood revealed as the most dangerous force in known space. And it all began because they had made the mistake of torturing one human girl too many. Earth's children had finally come home to roost, and the galaxy trembled at their approach. but she was wrong about that last part.